Actor Peter Greene of The Mask and Pulp Fiction passes away at age 60. Actor Peter Greene, best known for his eerie and iconic parts in films like Pulp Fiction and The Mask, passed away. The entertainment industry is in sorrow. At the age of 60, Greene passed unexpectedly, leaving behind a legacy based on unadulterated skill, emotional depth, and performances that captivated audiences long after the screen went blank, rather than glitz or celebrity headlines. Peter Greene made a strong name for himself as one of the most dramatic and convincing character performers in films, despite never being a conventional Hollywood leading man. Many in the film industry have been reminded of the subtle but enduring influence he had during his career as a result of his passing. Peter Greene's death at age 60 marks the end of a life that was never straightforward, never refined, but always authentic. Greene stood out in a field that is frequently motivated by glitz and perfection. He wasn't the type of actor who sought stardom for its glamour. Rather, he presented the reality on TV, which was consistently honest, but occasionally unsettling and eerie. His performances served as a reminder to viewers that acting is about feeling human rather than looking perfect. Roles that had a profound emotional impact will always be associated with Peter Greene's career. Even if they were difficult to see, characters like Dorian Tyrrell in The Mask and Zed in Pulp Fiction were hard to forget. Greene did not hold back, which made these performances powerful. He gave his all in his parts, unapologetically revealing the darker aspects of human nature. Few performers could pull it off convincingly, and even fewer had the guts to do it. Greene was unique not only because of his skill, but also because of the life lessons he applied to his work. He had an understanding of struggle that acting schools are unable to impart. His difficult and unstable upbringing influenced the ferocity he displayed on television. His performances had a raw edge because of this background, giving the impression that you were witnessing something genuinely experienced, rather than staged. Every time he appeared on screen, audiences sensed it, even though they were unaware of his whole tale. Greene never achieved the status of a normal Hollywood celebrity, even though he collaborated with big performers and starred in some of the most important films of the 1990s. Setbacks, personal struggles, and times away from the spotlight were all part of his journey. But at his core, he remained an actor. He took his profession seriously and respectfully, whether he was playing a major part or making a minor appearance. Greene believed that acting was about expressing oneself rather than gaining attention. His passing serves as a reminder of how fleeting life can be, particularly for artists who devote a great deal of themselves to their work. Peter Greene embodied a generation of character performers who contributed to the definition of a period in filmmaking when narratives were daring, gritty, and emotionally genuine. Actors like Greene made the risks in these films worthwhile. Greene leaves a legacy of realism that extends beyond his career. Young actors might take a cue from him. Impact does not always come from main roles, and success does not always equate to celebrity. Even though it may be difficult, people who are ready to stand in the shadows and tell the truth sometimes give the most unforgettable performances. Fans will continue to uncover new facets of his performances when they watch his flicks again. A true artist is someone whose work endures and becomes more profound with time. Even if Peter Greene is no longer with us, the feelings he portrayed on television still exist. His characters will continue to elicit debate, encourage contemplation, and serve as a reminder to viewers of an era when narrative dared to be authentic and unvarnished. When we honor Peter Greene, we honor an actor who was not afraid to be unique, intense, or human. Despite his flawed journey, he made a significant contribution to film. And that's what really endures in the end. A life shaped by survival and struggle. The life of Peter Greene was never easy. His early years were characterized by adversity, instability, and personal strife. He was born and raised in New Jersey. He fled his home as a youngster and lived on the streets of New York City for a while. Although those years were challenging, dangerous, and full of uncertainty, they also helped Greene develop into the very perceptive and emotionally intelligent person he would become. Greene's knowledge of human suffering, terror, and desperation came from personal experience, in contrast to many actors who have formal training or come from wealthy families. His performances would eventually be influenced by these early hardships, giving him a genuineness that directors found hard to replicate. Discovering a lifeline, Greene had no intention of becoming a traditional actor. Later in life, when he was looking for stability and purpose, acting came into his life. Curiosity gradually gave way to passion. He found that acting gave him a way to communicate feelings he had been holding inside for years, including resilience, rage, uncertainty, and vulnerability. Almost soon, his natural presence became apparent. Casting directors observed that Greene didn't act in the typical manner. He played his parts. Honesty was the only thing present, neither polish nor fake charm. He was ideal for complicated, troubled, and frequently dangerous characters because of his honesty. Early positions and a growing image. Peter Greene started getting modest parts in independent films and television shows in the early 1990s. Although he didn't become well-known right away, these roles contributed to his development as a serious actor who isn't afraid to take chances. His performances had a subdued intensity that suggested something more profound. Filmmakers were drawn to his unadulterated enthusiasm, which led to one of his first successes in independent movies. In contrast to mainstream Hollywood, Greene was able to examine broken, misinterpreted, and emotionally vulnerable individuals in independent films. He was able to establish a style that would eventually attract the interest of renowned directors thanks to these roles. A performance in Pulp Fiction that defines a career. In 1994, Peter Greene landed his most well-known part in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Greene played Zed in the movie, a character whose limited on-screen time had a profoundly unpleasant effect on viewers. Despite the role's dark, unsettling, and contentious nature, Greene approached it with unwavering dedication. Greene portrayed Zed with eerie reality instead of sensationalizing the role. The whole point of his performance was that it was extremely uncomfortable. It proved that he could depict humanity's darkest aspects without resorting to hyperbole or exaggeration. The part solidified Greene's place in movie history, even though it wasn't a leading one. Greene's act became a part of Pulp Fiction's legacy as it became a cultural icon. Becoming the antagonist in The Mask, Peter Greene's portrayal of Dorian Tyrell in The Mask expanded his audience even further during that decade. Greene, who starred alongside Jim Carrey, portrayed the main antagonist of the movie, a vicious and dangerous character motivated by ambition and greed. Balance was what set his performance apart. Greene kept his character grounded in reality in a film full of visual splendor and overdone humor. The story's stakes were elevated by Dorian's controlled aggression and serene threat. The Mask introduced many viewers to Peter Greene for the first time. Greene's performance provided the movie intensity and weight, even though it is primarily recognized for its humor. Typecast but never restricted, Greene was frequently portrayed as criminals, villains, or mentally disturbed guys following his popularity in Pulp Fiction and The Mask. For many performers, typecasting can be restrictive, but Greene handled these parts with consideration and nuance. He realized that people should be honest, even if they are harmful or imperfect. Instead than reenacting the same performance, he looked for the distinctive qualities of each character. Even though the roles themselves were similar, this method kept his job interesting. Greene never achieved true mainstream stardom despite his abilities. Rather, he continued to be a respected figure in the business and an actor whom other performers looked up to. Behind the scenes, personal battles. Behind the camera, Peter Greene continued to struggle with personal issues. He was candid about his battles with drugs and mental illness, which had an impact on both his personal and professional lives. His work occasionally stalled, not because he lacked skill, but rather because of the challenging circumstances he was dealing with. But Greene never gave up on rebuilding. He pursued treatment, strived for sobriety, and openly discussed the value of recovery and support. His candor made him even more admirable and relatable to many people. Subsequent career and self-employment. Greene concentrated more on indie films and smaller projects in the latter years of his career. Even though these films didn't have widespread theatrical releases, they nonetheless gave him the opportunity to pursue his passion of performing honestly and purposefully. In addition, he collaborated with up-and-coming filmmakers who respected his body of work and made television appearances. Greene stayed dedicated to his work, even after he was no longer the center of attention. Those who collaborated with him during this time frequently characterized him as modest, giving, and incredibly passionate about storytelling. News of his 60-year-old death. Many admirers and co-workers were shocked to learn about Peter Greene's death at the age of 60. Although there are still little information available about his passing, the statement sparked a plethora of tributes from the film industry. Fans, directors, and actors all recalled Greene's work and praised his bravery and sincerity. Many emphasized how his roles affected their perceptions of emotional authenticity and character acting in movies. A legacy beyond notoriety. Even though Peter Greene was never a household name in the conventional sense, his influence cannot be disputed. Film enthusiasts who choose depth over spectacle continue to study, debate, and enjoy his work. He embodied a kind of actor that is sometimes disregarded, one who works to further the plot rather than pursue celebrity. His performances served as a reminder to spectators that, when performed honestly, even supporting parts can have a lasting effect. Keeping in mind the man, not just his roles. Those who knew Greene well characterize him as very human, reflective, and insightful. His hardships and on-screen antagonists did not define him. He was a man who persevered in creating despite facing difficult internal and external challenges. Peter Greene was an example of how imperfection can be powerful in a field that is frequently fixated on perfection. Concluding thoughts. Peter Greene's passing signifies the end of a singular and significant career. He was an actor who gave depth to every role he played, empathy to villains, and truth to evil. Viewers will continue to recognize the signature of an artist who never chose the simple route when they rewatch Pulp Fiction, The Mask, and his numerous other films. Not only does Peter Greene's work endure in film, but it also endures in the hearts of people who appreciate the subtle force of truthful narrative.